for the one and only, the coach, like no other, Dr. Shawn.
The home stretch. I got two left week. Home stretch. The fourth quarter. It's the ninth inning. It's just about time to go home. So I won't keep you long, but I want you guys to do me a favor. There's some talented people came up on the stage. Like there's some gifted, talented people came on the stage. So just give everybody a round of applause. You know, I'm going to tell you a quick personal story, and then we'll call it a day. But I want you guys to help me tell the story. Can we agree to do that?
Yes.
Okay. So back when I was in college, I leased my very first car. And my first car was the Dodge Shadow. Raise your hand if you remember the Dodge Shadow.
Oh, there, Shawn.
They don't just looking at me like that. I said that was my first car.
Okay.
I enjoyed that car. I loved that car because it was my very first car.
Okay.
Now, after graduating college, I got a decent job. I started making some money, you know. And I wanted to upgrade from the Dodge Shadow to the Chrysler Neon. Nitro package, fog light. That's an upgrade. I enjoyed that car. I loved that car because it was my second car. 2 years later, I get a promotion. I started making some more money. And I go back to my favorite salesperson. Her name was Lisa. She had bright red hair. I didn't mind spending time with her, you know. She looked real good. And I wanted the brand new Sebring. It had just came on the lot. And I wanted to drop their price in the car. And Lisa did just that for me. And I had that car for 2 years. I enjoyed that car. I loved that car because it was my third car. And 2 years later, I get another promotion. I started to make some more money. And I go back to my favorite salesperson. Her name was what?
Lisa.
Just want to make sure you're paying attention to my story. I said, Lisa, I want the brand new 300M white car tan interior. It had just came on a lot. And I don't want to go back and forth like we always do. I want you to go and talk to your manager and tell her Shawn Fair has been here 4 times in 8 years. And I want to drop their price in the car because this time, I'm going to do something different. This time, I am going to shop around. But I'm going to give you the last word. So she goes and talks to her manager. She comes back. She's fired up. I'm fired up. She gives me the amazing price on the brand new 300M white car tan interior. As a matter of fact, the price is so good, I almost went against my word, which is what?
Shop around.
Shop around. So what did I do next?
Shop around.
I just want you guys to know that none of my questions are going to be rocket science today. I went to go shop around. So I went to Chrysler dealership B. And I told Chrysler dealership B that Chrysler dealership A gave me this price on a brand new 300M white car tan interior. And Mark, if you can beat the price, I'm going to do business with you. Now he goes and talks to his manager. He comes back, he's fired up, I'm fired up. He gives me an amazing price on the brand new 300M white car tan interior. But then I said to myself, you know what? Let me think about this for a moment. Mark, I'm going to get back with you. So what do I do next? I'm going to Chrysler dealership C. And I told Chrysler dealership C that Chrysler dealership B gave me this price on a brand new 300M white car tan interior. And Pastor, if you can beat the price, I'm going to do business with you. Now he goes and talks to his manager. He comes back, he's fired up, I'm fired up. He gives me an amazing price on the brand new 300M white car tan interior. But then there was a question that popped up into my head at that moment.
Well.
Do you know what that question was? I'm going to tell you what it was. I'm trying to figure out how come I could have got this price the first time. I'm starting to feel a certain way about automotive salespeople. I have come to the conclusion I don't like them very much. So what do I do next? I'm going to Chrysler dealership D. Now, I've already exhausted all the Chrysler dealerships in the Detroit metropolitan area. This one is about an hour and 10 minutes away from me, but I'm going out there anyway because I know for a fact I'm going to get a better price on the car. I'm getting in the car, I'm driving, I'm listening to my music, I'm having a good time all by myself. And about an hour and 30 minutes later, I come to the conclusion that I'm lost. But the one thing that was noticeable to me in this rural area was this massive Lexus dealership. Yeah. So I pull into the parking lot. I get out the car, I walk through the door. You guys know what happens next. The salesperson comes waltzing up to you, introducing himself. Hello, my name is so-and-so. What's your name? I said, my name is Shawn Fair. Well, Mr. Fair, what brings you in the Lexus today? I said, man, I'm looking for the Chrysler dealership. And I was wondering if you can point in the right direction. And he said, well, Mr. Fair, that's not a problem. See, if you go out the parking lot, you make a right-hand turn, you go a mile down the road, there's a street with no street sign on it. See, the Chrysler dealership is on that street, but because you don't see the sign and it sits 100 yards off the block, if you look to your left, you still wouldn't see it. Wow. I said, man, I must have passed by the street with no street sign on it about 15 different times, but because I didn't see the dealership, I didn't bother to make the left-hand turn. Now, I want you guys to know that I was relieved at that particular moment. So I'm walking out the door, and I'm minding my own business, by the way. 15 steps later, he comes trotting behind me. Mr. Fair, I was just wondering, what were you going to buy at the Chrysler dealership? I said, man, I'm about to go buy that brand new 300M white car tan interior. Do you know what this man said to me? I'm going to tell you what he said. He said, Mr. Fair, that's a gorgeous car. It's got a lot of bells and whistles on it, and the price point is absolutely amazing. Now, what was he doing? I'm going to tell you what he was doing. He was buttering me up, and you guys know what's coming next. Well, Mr. Fair says, you already here. I was just wondering if you could spend a few minutes with me so I could tell you a little bit about Lexus. So what did I say?
Sure.
Now, why did I say yes?
He was nice. He gave you direction.
That's reason number 5. Well, that's reason number 3.
He buttered you up.
That's reason number 2. But reason number 1 is that he addressed my immediate concern, I know Dr. Q, was where was the Chrysler dealership? So I decided to spend some time with him. So we get ready to walk back into the dealership. We have some small talk. I'm getting to know him a little bit. He's getting to know me. And as soon as we walk in the door, he says something like this. Mr. Fair, I gotta be honest with you. Now, you guys know, when someone starts off a phrase, with I gotta be honest with you, something negative is coming behind that. Well, Mr. Fair, when you walked in, I was right in the middle doing some paperwork, and we short-staffed today, and I was just wondering if you could give me about 10 minutes, and I'll be right back with you. So I gave him the look, and it was a deep pause for a moment. This is right around 1996, 97 time frame. And then he said, but Mr. Fair, in the meantime, you can go into this corner of the dealership. There's some beer, wine, chip, and dip. And over in this corner, there's some internet access. I just want you to go there and help yourself. So what did I do?
Go help yourself.
Like I said, none of my questions will be rocket science today. I went over and had some beer, wine, chip, and dip. And I'm using the internet access, just kind of passing the time. He comes back over to me 15 minutes later. What's the problem?
It's 15 minutes.
He told me 10 minutes, he's 5 minutes late. He said, Mr. Fair, I apologize. It took me a little bit longer than I expected. But I noticed that you were enjoying the beer, wine, chip, and dip. And I see that you're using internet access. I want to let you know that when you become a Lexus customer, you can come in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and enjoy the beer, wine, chip, and dip on us. I said, you don't say. He said, Mr. Fair, if you buy a Lexus car today, what car would you buy? Well, at the time, the GS 400 with the bubble lights was real hot. And my first question to him was what?
How much is it?
How much does the car cost, sir? He said, Mr. Fair, we're going to get to that in just a moment. So he takes me behind these double doors. And behind the double doors is the mechanic shop. Now, I like to pay attention. I'm looking around. The place is just spotless. There's no oil spills on the floor. The mechanics, they walking around, in these nice white overcoats. Like when you go to the dentist, they just clean. He says, Mr. Fair, I have to share something very important with you. He says, at Lexus, we only hire the best of the best. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Fair, we only hire our mechanics from Toyota, which is our parent company. He says, Chrysler, Ford, or GM will hire a Chrysler, Ford, or GM employee and fix a Chrysler, Ford, or GM car, but at Lexus, we only service Lexus, which means we are the very best at what we do. I said, you don't say. How much does the car cost? I answered. He said, Mr. Fair, we're going to get to that in just a moment. So we're walking down this long hallway, He's looking at me, I'm looking at him. He's looking at me, I'm looking at him. He's not saying nothing. Like I'm starting to feel uncomfortable, And finally he stops. He says, Mr. Fair, did you hear anything? I says, no. He says, right behind us is Lexus car. I says, I can see that. He says, Mr. Fair, this car's got 300,000 miles on it. I said, that's great. He says, this car just happened to be turned on. I said, that's amazing. He says, Mr. Fair, when you own a Lexus car and you bring it in every 90 days for service, your car's going to have the same longevity and sound just like this one. I said, you don't say. How much does the car cost is what I keep asking. He said, Mr. Fair, we're going to get to that in just a moment. Now, back in those days, they had a guy named Jimmy. And Jimmy is the guy that would bring around the test car. Now, I couldn't wait to test this puppy out. And before you know it, guess who's jumping in the car with me? The salesperson. And the first thing he does is he cranks up the music to let me know there's a great sound system in the car. I says, I get it. He turns back down. He says, Mr. Fair, I'm just wondering, how much time does it take you to get back and forth to work? Now, at the time, I was living in the Detroit area. I was an executive over this telecom company in Cleveland. Now, he's doing the math on this. Well, Mr. Fair, that's 3 hours going this way and 3 hours going that way. That's 3 plus 3. That's 6. How many times do you make that trip over the course of the week? Well, I said I make that trip about 4 times or so. And he says, well, Mr. Fair, that's 4 times 6, that's 24. He's talking to me like I don't understand how to do arithmetic. He says, Mr. Fair, I have to share something else with you. We have the best engineered engines of all the automakers out there today, which means you have a smooth ride for the 24 hours that you spend driving back and forth in your new Lexus vehicle. Now, I'm almost done with the story. Before I can get out my mouth, we pull back into the dealership. We go behind the initial building. He says, Mr. Fair, do you know what that building is? I says, no, what is it? He says, this is where we wash the Lexus car. He says, when you own a Lexus car, Mr. Fair, you can bring your car in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and we will wash your car at absolutely no charge. Oh, by the way, if you have a wife, girlfriend, or fiance who owns a Chrysler, Ford, or GM, we will wash the Chrysler, Ford, or GM for the simple fact that you own the Lexus. Now, we won't fix it, but we'll wash it. If you bring your car in and we're busy, we'll give you a Lexus loaner car for 2 hours. Go take care of your business, and when you come back, we'll have the car all ready to go for you. Now, here's my question. I'm telling the story here. What was the salesperson creating for me?
Experience.
He was creating a great and wonderful experience. And I don't know if you guys have gotten the message just yet, but I'm in the business of creating experiences, and Dr. Tabitha's in the business of creating experiences, and there's a big difference in these car salespeople. The Chrysler people are in the business of selling what? Cars. The Lexus is in the business of selling what? Experiences. He's also in the people business. And I'm in the people business, and Dr. Talbot is in the people business. And if you have a platform and you have a business and there's a service you're trying to sell, you are in the people business. In other words, if you don't like people, you don't like training people, listening to people, hearing people, counseling people, diagnosing people, listening to people's voicemail, calling people back, I can promise you, you're in the wrong business. And I'm going to tell you something else. Don't waste your time if you're not in this business, because if you're not in the people business, you will eventually fail. Right. I can promise you that. Guys, this has been an amazing conference. Dr. Talbot, I'm so proud of her. Because the one thing that I can say about her is, one, she spends the money and she invests in herself. That's number one. She has an emotional investment in what she does. And there's a physical investment in what she does. The financial, the emotional, and the physical are all important elements of building a sustainable, profitable, meaningful business that brings real value to society. She's an excellent model to what?